Good evening, everybody. I want to make this video as a kind of lesson into what could be known as fulfilling certain obligations, but hitting roadblocks. And so these roadblocks that you come up against, there's no way to get around them. And I'm sure that we've all had these kind of situations happen in our lives where we do something, we get into a project or an activity, and there just seems like there's no way to crack the code, no way to get through it, no way to get move it, no way to take the Vickers settings and move them up to slant ears. Meaning, no way to figure it out. And you know in your soul, in your intuition, it's not worth your time. It's not worth your emotional and mental investment. And yet your ego, your logical brain, kicks and screams and yells at you to continue doing the thing. That is not right for you. That is a waste of your time and energy. And you know that it's a waste of your time and energy, yet you keep doing it because of the conditions that we have been getting drilled into us from an early age, from the moment that we step into a school setting. We get conditioned that you have to do this. There's no way around it. This is what you have to do. And this is gradual mentally. This is from the very, very beginning up to the very, higher education. And higher education is the focal point of this conversation that I want to have today. Here's the issue. Maybe some of you know, or some of you could guess, maybe that I am taking classes at college. I'm taking college classes. And in this one class that I'm taking, and I want to circle back to November 21st, 2022, because that is a very, very significant date that I want to bring into this video. Basically, this class that I'm taking, there is this project where you get in a group and you come up with a species and you look at the environment of the species, the creation of it, how it survives, how it thrives, how it adapts, how it reproduces, how it goes extinct, coming up with the name, the title, the abilities, all those things. Now, it could be very, very good if you were doing it individually, but nope, this is a group project. And because this is a group project, and because this is not a research project, and here's where it gets very difficult, is the writing part of it. You're not only getting in a group and coming up with a species, that could be fine, but the problem is the assignment calls for participating in not only a group paper contributing to that, but also an individual paper. Now, this assignment was given out by a professor that I know very, very well, that I've had many conversations with, and I have nothing negative to say about her, but I have some critiques to say about this assignment. She is very, very nice. She is very open, very friendly. I would say very congenial. um, very understanding. Nothing wrong with this professor at all. The assignment is where the problems really get revealed. So, writing the group paper, taking certain questions that are requirements, and maybe actually I should bring the assignment. Oh, whoops, I hope I didn't click on the wrong thing here. Let me just bring the assignment to your attention. So let me find the assignment here. I would do this as an audio file, but I've deleted countless of those, and there's no point in doing it, and there's no point in making a live stream about it either, because I've made many live streams and I've deleted those many live streams. So doing Zoom videos is still here, still contented. So anyway, um, I won't go off on that tangent. But I do want to pull it up to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So let me find the thing here. Okay. Um, so these are the requirements. This is for a group assignment. For the species paper, this is what needs to be done. Provide a name for the species. Easy. The group that I am in came up with light runner as the species. Half greyhound, half shark, basically. So, you know, nothing there. Provide a description of the environment in which your species lives. Examples of climate, plants, animals, temperature, altitude, etc. Also include the foods your species eats, especially the foods that sustain their existence. And again, if it was individual, then it would be much easier to be creative and to really be uninhibited. Nope, it's a group project, so that's that storm cloud hanging over it. That's that's the caveat right there. That's the crunch point, I want to say. So, the next requirement is morphology and physiology. Um, so meaning what it physically looks like and the appearance of it, and physiology, the study of how living organisms, including humans, function from the smallest cells to entire systems. I explore the physical and chemical process that keeps living things alive. And then there's an example provided how organs work together and how organs work together to maintain a stable internal environment. How old is the species and how it can be dated, relative, or absolute? What method? How the species came into being, how it was created, how it was made, how did it go extinct? Now, those are the requirements. At least those are all of the requirements up until it really, really gets very, very troubling. And this is where it gets troubling. And I've already said it in this video. Your individual paper needs to go into depth on one of these. Okay, so an individual paper going into depth about something that you create, something that is made up, that is not based on research, something that is just an idea, going into detail about that. That doesn't make sense. If it was I took composition one and two. We needed to do a research paper where we had a structure and we went into depth on the research. Nowhere. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You can come up with a story, you can be creative. But the thing is, every one of those papers that I took that I did in composition one and composition two were individual papers. Individual. Now, you know, okay, we went together in workshops and we critiqued our papers and we gave suggestions on how it could be better, how it could be improved to be better writing. But all in all, the papers were done by the student individually. This is a different story. This is a different tale. This is a different tale where it is a group project based off of an idea and an imagination that we come up with in our minds. And it's not a research paper. And it's a group thing. So you may not come up with all the ideas. You may not be able to be your authentic self and come up with the entire thing on your own. You have to rely on the group members who come up with the species in this case, and then contribute your part of it based off of somebody else's imagination, what's going on. And I'm kind of projecting my own, my role in the group, I guess I could say. I might be aware of that. But so if this is a project about being creative, about having imagination and coming up with things, I do want to jump to this real quick. And I know I'm jumping ahead here, is that you can do so much on your own, coming up with your own species, doing all these kind of things like that. Yet you are at the mercy of your group. And let's face it, there is some research involved with this, but you're at the mercy of your group. And I'm going to go on because I'm realizing I'm getting ahead of myself here. Now, the instructions say please collaborate with your mate on which topics are important to your group. Therefore, with three members in a group, then each member picks one topic. Not only is there a group paper, this is crazy. As much as I really, really like this professor, I don't agree with it. There is an individual paper in addition to the group paper. Yes, you heard me correctly. You did not mishear me. There is not only a group paper to this assignment, but there is an individual paper where you are going into depth on one of the things. And so, um, let me see. The individual paper should provide more in-depth information about the species. Okay, and then there's a little add-on here. P.S. Okay, thanks to the suggestion of a classmate for the group paper, assign each person in your group to write about two of the six required bullet points in the introduction. Identify the person writing about those bullet points. Also, you may cite your text and outside sources. Remember, this is a group effort. A group effort. For something that you're just imagining, something that you're coming up with, a group effort, not you writing a paper, which is the norm for composition, which is the writing class. Nowhere in composition one, composition two were there group papers. It was all individual. There was no group activity. You were writing your own paper. So the fact that she makes it clear that it's a group effort. Now, if you're really tuned into your intuition, you may have a red flag come up if circumstances align in a way that are these kind of circumstances, and your logical mind is telling you, do the thing, you need to do the thing. Otherwise, these are the consequences. You're not going to get a good grade, you're going to get deducted points. Whereas if you really drop in to your intuition, to your soul, to the part of you that knows what is right for you, what is true for you, what is for your highest good, getting past logic, and you're coming up against a roadblock in life where this thing, there's just, you cry and you try to chip away at that wall, but you can't chip away at the wall. You can't chip away at the wall. You can try so hard, but at the end of the day, it's difficult, it's complicated, it's hopeless, and therefore I make the wise decision to give up. Now, it's not advocated by a lot of individuals to say give up. persistence and commitment and all those things are wonderful, but this is where this is not about, being mean to groups or being mean to the people that you're working with or being unfair or breaking an agreement with them. This is about setting a clear boundary to say, no, no, this is a ticket to moon one. This is beyond what is feasible for me. This is just, you don't have the words for it because this isn't going to happen. Now, I've pulled a card, actually. So I pulled three cards, and I'm going to talk about November 21st of 2022 in just a second, but I pulled three cards. The first one was from the Greenwich Oracle about this group project, and the message was freedom. Freedom to do it if you want to, freedom not to do it if you don't want to. The second card I pulled about this project was from the Mystical Healing Oracle, and it was the perfect thing that I needed to hear. Stop breaking agreements. That's what the card was. I'm not kidding. So stopping breaking agreements, allowing others to be able to put their trust in you, being trustworthy to others, not breaking agreements that you make with groups, with teams, with others in school situations and work situations, family, whatever it is. That brings me to the third card I pulled after today, showing up, having a positive attitude, wanting to invest in this because I got that other card and I'm not going to go against the card. I showed up, I put my mind in the right mindset, and at the end of the day, I can do that all I can, but this project is hopeless. It is hopeless. So I asked a question I pulled from the deck that I've used on my Oracle card reading videos, which I've just started, by the way. There's not too many of those videos, but I'll continue to shoot more of those. The deck was the Gateway Oracle by Denise Flynn. The card that I pulled from that deck was Follow Your Bliss. This is what Spirit wanted to tell me about this project. After going through it, after realizing how difficult it is, the card I got was Follow Your Bliss. I mean, how clear could that be? Couldn't that be? This is Spirit telling me, that this project is way too difficult and very, very difficult to do and not worth it. This is just at the end of the day, if I were to connect to my soul right now, going through the experience again and, feeling the same emotions, I have to ask myself, is it worth it? And the answer is no. And it is reflected in this card. The message of it is my soul sings with joy, making yourself feel happy, doing what brings you joy, doing what uplifts you. Doing this project will not give me joy. Now you could say, oh well, you have to because it's an assignment or whatever. But I'm an adult. I'm not a minor anymore. I'm not in seventh grade anymore. There's more liberty now at my age than there was back then. So I do want to, make that clear in case some of you may be thinking certain things. But anyway, I shouldn't have to censor myself, and I'm not censoring myself on these videos. I don't censor myself ever. Well, I don't swear or curse or do anything like that, but the videos I put out are me being my authentic self. I'm not going to hold anything on these videos that I make. Yeah, I think it's worth reading this card from the guidebook. That's the where did I get to this deck? There it is. Okay, found it. So let's see. I'm gonna read the card. Whoops, it's reversed. So let me find the card here. 33. Follow your bliss. My soul sings with joy. This is the card meaning. There's two sections to this. There's the card meaning. The universe wants you to know and questions to ask yourself. Follow your bliss. My soul sings with joy. Card meaning. Do what gives you joy. Celebrate and have fun. You do not need to suffer to grow. I don't need to suffer through this project to grow, to evolve, to become a better version of myself. In fact, true happiness comes from following the dictates of your soul, the dictates of your soul, the dictates of your intuition, which are clearly saying to me, no, don't do this. Take steps today to expand your joy. You don't need to do it all at once, but you do need to start. Moving on to what the universe wants you to know. If you don't follow your bliss now, when will you? If you've been waiting to act on circumstances, or if you've been waiting to act until circumstances are different or somehow better, you may have a long wait. Some people put off following the North Star until they graduate, get married, have kids, or retire. If you continue to do so, if you continue to do what you have to fulfill these obligations that don't feel good in your intuition, don't feel good in your soul, you may never attain genuine happiness. Take steps today to experience the sweet nectar of life. Now, I really, really like how this deck is set up, and if only more decks were set up in this way, it gives you, let me just show you, it gives you it gives you the card title, the phrase underneath it, the affirmation underneath it, the card meaning. It gives you what the universe wants you to know and questions to ask yourself. So hopefully you can see. Okay. So how better could they get? I mean, if I got Flying Free or Breaking Barriers from this deck, which I was hoping to get, but I got this one and it's still resonant and I'll take it. Um, I mean, I try to be open to the cards I pull up. I get a card and it doesn't resonate for me at all, then I just put it away. Doesn't make sense at all. But if it's something that I may not want to hear, but I need to hear, then I will work on keeping it, not putting it back in the deck and considering it, what it means for me intuitively, reading from the guidebook and the meaning, how it applies to my life, that kind of thing. Um, and so this is really, and it takes courage. It really, really takes courage. And I should read you the questions to ask yourself in this. Questions to ask yourself: what feeds my soul? How can I follow my bliss? What is blocking me from living a life filled with joy? What is blocking me from living a life filled with joy? This project is blocking me from that life filled with joy. And so, as I was saying, it takes courage to say no. Um, it takes courage to, back out of something and not choose to do it and, be true to yourself and set those healthy boundaries. And it takes maturity. It takes discipline. It takes years. It takes your life to be able to stand up for yourself and advocate for yourself and be true to yourself and have the courage to say, no, I'm not going to do this. November 21st, 2022. I remember that date and I'll never forget it. I was in a literature class and there was an assignment due. And over the weekend, I thought nothing was due. There was no assignments. And lo and behold, it was too good to be true. Why am I getting all this free time? It was too good to be true. Because on Monday, November 21st, when I was sitting in my class, I went on to the Blackboard site and I saw that assignment of reading poems and analyzing them and answer questions about them that assignment was due. And these are higher order thinking questions. These are not comprehension questions. These are literature analysis questions that are very, very challenging, very difficult. That was by far the hardest college class I've ever taken was that literature class. But it did push me and I did work very, very hard. And the teacher was very clear and structured and all that. But so Mars was retrograde in my Mars sign. Mars was retrograde in Gemini. I'm in natal Mars in Gemini in my chart. Neptune was in Pisces. Mars retrograde in Gemini squared Neptune in Pisces. What does that translate to? Deception, lying to yourself, feeling groggy, feeling drained. And yet your Mars is retrograde, so you're not clear as to what action to take. You're in review. You're not, you know, it's kind of like, you're in the fog, you don't know where you're going, kind of thing. That's the best metaphor I can come up, best analogy I can come up with right now. But so what did I do? I rushed myself. As soon as I found out, I went into the library and I sat down and I type, very, very hard, very intense to try to get the project done before it was over. And I did the best I could with the time that I had that where I was remaining at the campus. I did all that I could in that time. I rushed through it and I was about to turn it in and I felt guilty for tapping on my computer. Of course, I have a different computer now, so that guilt is erased. But anyway, I was going to turn it in. But there was conditioning that held me back. Conditioning that this has to be done. You must sacrifice your joy, your well-being, your self-care to get a darn assignment done. You have to sacrifice your well-being, your energy, your state of being, your inner peace to get work done. Now, that's conditioning that we grow up with at an early age. And that conditioning was really, really drilled into me. And I let that get the better of me because I was just about to turn it in when I couldn't. And I thought that I was lying to myself by not turning it in, by not doing the work. But in fact, it was the exact opposite. I was lying to myself. I was being mean to myself, trying to get this assignment done. I was being disrespectful to myself. Now, my, fifth grade teacher, I really, really didn't like her, but she wasn't strict. She had one rule, and it was to respect herself, and I was not doing that. If I were to respect myself at the time, I would, okay, maybe I wouldn't do the project at all, or I would slow down, do what I can do before going home, and then enjoy the rest of the evening off. Time just to live, time just to be, time to enjoy life, time to relax, time to wind down, time to get away from the stresses and the burdens and the obligations and the work that has to be done. I could have had a night of peace watching videos and doing whatever I wanted to do, but instead I sacrificed and I was being very, very intense, very compulsive, very mean to myself, trying to work, typing, furiously, frantically trying to get it done. But I was stressed, and that showed up in eating dinner with my family. I was in a bad mood. I, um, I was stressed. I couldn't think clearly, and I was allowing this to get the better of me. I was allowing this act, this project, this assignment to interfere with my well-being, with my peace, with my love for myself. I was allowing it to totally take over my life. And I had the choice. I had the choice whether I would allow it to take over my night, consume my night, to take over be alcohol to my well-being and my inner peace. Um, I had the choice. I could have not done it. I could have not done the assignment at all, or did what I could and had a very, very nice evening. But there's no way I could slow down and really take my time because it was due that night. And so I did feel very, very good about when I got it done, but most of the evening was gone by that point because I slammed the door. I was very, very loud and chaotic, and I was lying to myself. I was being mean to myself trying to get this assignment done. Now, this situation is different than that. So I learned a very, very valuable lesson of not to let school or assignments interfere with my peace, with my well-being, all that kind of things like that. Now, I'm not saying just drop out of any project, when you don't want to. This is where you try and you don't see a way forward. You don't see a way forward. It is either I sit down with the group, they tell me exactly what they want me to write, and I write every single word, word for word, that they tell me. I don't come up with my own ideas because I feel like I don't have the space to be creative. Because when I am creative, I make up stuff. Because why can't I be creative? Why can't I rebel? Why can't I just let my creativity soar? Because I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel like this group is the right space to do that in. Find spaces in your life where you can take up more space, not less. Take up more space, not less. And in this case, I don't feel like I have the safety. I don't feel like I have the space to really express my unique, authentic ideas because they're going to be made up and they're not going to be easy to understand. And I'm afraid that the group will reject them and criticize them, and all the contributions that I put in out the window, wasted because what I say will not make sense. Be creative. Oh, but it's a group thing, and your group members have to agree, and you have to collaborate, and it has to make sense. Squashes your creativity right there. It squashes your creativity. It just, I don't have the courage to blatantly say, no, I'm not going to do this. I can't do it. It just feels too uncomfortable for me. Why? Conditioning. Conditioning. And there's nothing against anyone in the world. This is not anyone's fault. It's the conditioning that is at fault. The conditioning of, comply, conform, obey authority, do what you're supposed to do, walk in line, be in a box, this whole thing. I do not have the courage to outright say, I don't want to do this. I'm not doing this. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do that. Yet, I cannot bring myself to do this project because I can't write anything unless the group members are metaphorically holding my hand and telling me exactly what they want written. And I'm afraid that when I give my input, it will be rejected, it will be criticized, it will be thrown away because it doesn't make any sense at all. That's my creativity. You're gonna see it in my writing when I come out with Oracle decks in my life and books in my life. You're gonna see it in my writing. I do embellish things. I'm very random. I make up things, and I'm hoping that it will not get rejected. There may be some censoring things I have to go on with it. I haven't published anything yet. I'm just writing for fun on my own. This isn't for fun, though. This is an assignment. This is a project, which is about creativity. But oh, when I am creative, what if they're not going to like it? And this is where I am in a space where I don't feel like I have the safety and the freedom to really express my authentic self, to really express what I want to express. And so I choose to draw the boundary. I choose to draw the boundary that I'm not going to continue to do this project. If it was solely research, that would be a different thing. I would, be able to look it up. But no, this is not. How on earth am I supposed to come up with a three-page paper, let alone a section of a paper with information that is made up and creative and then I have to come up with stuff to, what if they're not going to like it? And what if it doesn't make any sense at all? And there's only so much you can write about. Okay, I'm going to write about, in this case, I'm going to write about how the species went extinct. Okay, when the species gets extinct. Okay, a meteorite hits the Earth, it wipes them out. What else do you want me to say? What else is there to say? Seriously, what else can I say? Tell me what I need to say because I need to know what I'm writing. And if I have to be spoon-fed information word for word by my group members, and they're not always going to be available, and they're not going to be available when I need it. Well, it'll be a group chat, but basically, I get this feeling like they have to hold my hand through this whole entire assignment. And again, Comp 1 and Comp 2, never was there a group paper based off of an imaginary thing. This isn't just any story that you want to come up with at all, or a life experience that you're creatively telling. This is something specific. This is like rolling a dice and saying you're getting a letter, and you have to come up with an ingredient that starts with that letter name that goes well with this other ingredient. This is so specific and so nitpick. And so, where where there's only so much creativity that you can put into it. There's only, you can only be creative so much, you know? So, with all that to say, fast forward to Thanksgiving. I'm with my family, I'm eating dinner, and it's long gone. The assignment is passed. It's due November 17th, and by that point, it'll all be over. By that point, it won't matter anymore. By that point, I will have been done with this assignment. And there is a conditioned part of me that's like, you should have done it. You should have stuck with it. But then there's the soul intuitive knowing that you improved. You've done right this time. It wasn't like November 21st. You did what was right for you. You drew that boundary. Pat on the back. Good job. I imagine that is going to be my feeling. And if it's not, information. But if it is, information. I may feel a little bit regret, but I know that there is no way to chip away at that wall. I know that there's no way to do this assignment. There's just no way to do it unless I'm spoon fed the information by my group members. There's no way to do it. And so that concludes this video. And I'm going to be clear, I did pull that one card, don't break agreements. I will show up. I will be involved, but when it's feasible for me to be involved. And that may mean missing a deadline. That may mean losing points. Okay, that's just going to have to be the reality of it. And that reality I need to accept because that reality is the right reality for me. So what if I lose points? It's one class, one assignment, not a big deal. Move on. Do what you can do. There's a quiz that's due in that class. You're answering the questions from the textbook. You're looking up the answers in the textbook. You're writing them down. I can do that. I will do that. Not this. There is a reason why you're resistant to things. That's information. There's a reason why I was resistant to this thing from the very beginning. And this is why. Because I showed up just today, had a positive attitude, all the thing. And yet, there was a wall that I couldn't chip away. It's like a dry desert with no oasis, no way out. And so I am just not going to go through with this project. So I feel like there's something that, let me just see if I can think of, because there's something that I also wanted to say. Let me see. If there's anything that I wanted to say. Um, hmm. Oh, when I read a book, when I watch a video, when my focus is on other things, that assignment doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I'm focused on other things. I can easily put on my headphones and tune out the outside noise and go into my world where there is peace, where there is calm, where it feels right, that defies logic. Oh my goodness, I have the Sacred Rebels Oracle by Lana Fairchild, and I feel like that would be a great deck to use for this situation. I haven't pulled a card from the situation, and I never thought of pulling a card from that deck until now. But I can choose to be enmeshed in the project. And let's face it, I do have to come to class and I will devote my attention to the project when I'm in class. But outside of class, we focus on other things, doing other work for anthropology and other classes, doing, in the class that I'm in with this assignment is anthropology, um, but an anthropology class. Um, but I'll be doing other things and it won't matter. It just won't matter anymore. And so I will let it slide, let it go with the flow. Just let it go. Just- I'm releasing this from my life. I'm letting it go. I'm not going to choose to engage my time and energy into this anymore. This is not worth it. This is not worth it. It just isn't worth it. So I'm going to draw the line in the sand, even though the ego, the insecure part's going to be kicking and screaming, saying, do this, you have to do this. Oh. Not going to be the end of the world if I don't do it. Not going to be catastrophic if I don't do it. It's almost like you're jumping off a cliff and the person down below is saying, come in, the water's fine, but then your ego's like, I need a plan, I feel insecure. You know, so if you want to take a risk, in this case, I feel like I am taking a risk by not doing this. And it feels right intuitively, but from a conditioned, logical left brain perspective, it just doesn't make sense to feel insecure. Get past it, drop into your heart what is true for you, follow your inner guidance when it comes to anything in life that doesn't serve you. If you just know there is no way to get through this, there's no way to solve this, there's no way to resolve this, there's no way to fix it or make it easier for myself or make it feasible for myself. There's just no way. So that's the boundary I draw. Now, this may very well not be set in stone. There may be some help come along the way, and I will be open to receive it due to that one card that I got that I really, really feel now. with this new chance. Like I'll probably show up in class like I'm going to do it, but outside of class, I'll be doing other things. I'll be focused on other things. So that's my rant completely over now. I'm done ranting. And so that is all that I want to say in this video. And hopefully this is a message to be in spaces where you can take up more space, where you can be your authentic, creative self, where you're not suppressed and repressed by outside forces, by outside group forces. Don't be in a space that seems to squash your creativity. Don't be in a space where you're afraid to express your creativity. So that's what I want to say in this video. Bye for now.